the cooling off period when purchasing off the plan properties. So, when a person actually buys an off the plan property, the purchaser is paying for a property where the end product may or may not differ from the expectations of the purchaser. Okay, so it could, and apart from the expectations of the actual property, it may be worth more than what they paid for it, yay, or it may be worth less than what they agreed to pay for it when they purchased it off the plan. So, either way, there's, their expectations are not being met. I mean, back in December 2019, so, about 15 months ago, there were actually some new protections and some statutory remedies that applied to contracts exchanged after that 1st of December 2019. There were increased disclosures where, the developers or the vendors of off the plan properties needed to give purchasers more information than agents need to do when they're selling an already constructed home, or second-hand home, I guess or property, we can talk about that. Vendors or developers needed to include a disclosure statement as part of the contract, which outlined key information like the sunset dates in terms of when people could get it, could move on with the contracts, some protection around the sunset clauses of, developers not being able to, rescind on a contract so they could sell it for a higher price if the market had moved upwards. And they needed to provide draft documents and the schedule of finishes and draft bylaws for strata properties, all of those sorts of things. So lots of changes actually occurred during, when occurred during a development, and all of that needed to be dealt with in the contract. But let's get back to the question that we've been asked. So that's all the issues about off the plan. Some people love off the plan purchases and some people don't. It's kind of, there's a little bit of a risk in there. There's a little bit of, what are we, some research to be done. From a personal perspective, love it. I live in a property that I bought off the plan. So, it's something that I feel comfortable with, but, you've got to do your research on that. And every purchase is going to be different. So as an agent, you need to make sure that you're making that an easy process for your purchases. Now, off the plan buyers have a 10 business day cooling off period. So it's longer than the cooling off period on an already constructed home. Okay, so usually there's a 5-day cooling off period, and of course that can be extended on when you're buying second-hand property. But there is a flat 10-day cooling off period for an off the plan buyer. Now, purchasers can decide to pull out of a contract during that cooling off period, and they'll, as with any other contract, they will forfeit the 0.25% of the purchase price for doing so. Now, and as with a cooling off period on an already constructed home, the purchaser can choose to rescind or waive or shorten that cooling off period, but only if the purchaser's lawyer or their conveyancer has provided, 66W certificate, so according to the Conveyancing Act. So, which is required by legislation to actually waive or in this case, shorten the cooling off period, and that the contract has been explained to the purchaser by their solicitor or conveyancer and what it actually means to be varying their cooling off period. So, there's some things that as an agent you actually need to know, that when you're selling off the plan property, there are some differences in how the information that you give to your prospective purchasers. There's a difference in the cooling off, so in that exchange process, and there's some differences around, obviously the length of time that it takes to go from exchange to settlement. So again, guys, some great information about off the plan buying. And obviously when you read it from that perspective, from a buyer's perspective, you put your agent head on, obviously. Hopefully that head's on all the time. You look at it from the perspective of the agent. You say, okay, well, if this is what fair trading is saying that a buyer should be expecting, I as an agent should be behaving in a way to provide that information. So you flip the information to look at it from the agent perspective, but it's great information that's on there.